The house was buzzing with excitement. Guests had flown in from different countries. Flowers decorated every corner, and the smell of expensive roses hung in the air. Please stay with me as I tell you her story. Don't forget to like, share with your family and friends, and subscribe to this channel for your support means a lot to us. Back to my story. Amara sat at her dresser, staring at her reflection. Tomorrow, she would marry Darius, the man everyone said was her perfect match. Handsome, ambitious, wealthy. Yet a heaviness clung to her chest, the kind that made breathing feel like swallowing stones. Her best friend and maid of honor, Tessa, burst into the room with a glass of champagne. Tomorrow is your big day, my love. No nerves, okay, you'll be Mrs. Darius Cole. She winked, raising the glass. Amara forced a smile, but her eyes betrayed her unease. Do you ever feel like something is off, like everything's too perfect? Tessa laughed, brushing it off. Cold feet, every bride feels that way, trust me. But Amara wasn't convinced. That night, unable to sleep, she went for a walk outside. The garden lights glowed faintly, and the silence was unnerving. Then she saw it, through the slightly open window of Darius's study. He was inside, pacing, his phone pressed to his ear. She leaned closer, holding her breath. She has no idea. After tomorrow, everything will be ours. Amara's blood ran cold. Ours? Who was he talking to? Before she could move, a shadow appeared beside him in the room. Amara's heart stopped. It was Tessa. Amara has just overheard her groom and best friend together, in a secret conversation, the night before her wedding. Amara froze in place, her fingers gripping the cold window frame so tightly her knuckles turned white. Inside the study, Darius lowered his voice. Tomorrow, once her father signs the transfer, it's done, the company, the assets, all of it, it'll be ours. Tessa's soft laugh followed, sending a dagger straight through Amara's chest. And she'll never see it coming. She actually thinks you love her. Amara staggered back, her mind spinning. Her heart wanted to scream that this couldn't be real. Her best friend, her fiancé, together. The voices inside grew sharper. But what if she suspects something? Tessa asked, her tone laced with caution. She doesn't, Darius replied firmly. She's too blinded by the wedding. By me, after tomorrow, she'll be nothing more than a pawn. Amara clamped a hand over her mouth to stop herself from gasping. Her body shook, tears pricked her eyes. But she forced herself to remain silent. She wanted to run into that room, to claw the smugness off their faces, to demand answers. But something inside her told her to wait. The truth was bigger than betrayal. It was a trap. Quietly, she backed away from the window and slipped into the shadows of the garden. Her pulse raced with fury, but beneath the rage, a dangerous calm was beginning to form. If they wanted to play a game, she would play it better. As she entered her room, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from an unknown number lit up the screen. Be careful who you trust tomorrow. Not everyone is who they claim to be. Amara has not only uncovered Darius and Tessa's betrayal, but also received a mysterious warning from an unknown sender. Amara's hands trembled as she reread the message. Be careful who you trust tomorrow. Not everyone is who they claim to be. Her first thought was to call the number, but when she tried, it went straight to voicemail. Whoever sent it didn't want to be found. She sat on the edge of her bed, heart hammering, the voices she overheard, the laughter she would never forget. And now this warning, it was too much for coincidence. By morning, her family noticed her pale face. Nerves, she lied, brushing them off. But inside, her thoughts raced. Should she confront Darius? Should she expose Tessa? Or would that only make her look weak, paranoid, unstable? Later that afternoon, Amara watched Tessa carefully as they picked out jewelry for the rehearsal dinner. Tessa hummed cheerfully, holding up a necklace. This would look divine on you tomorrow, she said with her usual easy smile. But now, all Amara saw was poison wrapped in silk. She decided to test her. Tessa, Amara asked, her tone sharp. What would you do if someone betrayed you on the eve of your wedding? Tessa paused, her hand tightening slightly on the necklace before she quickly recovered. I'd pray I never find out. Her laugh was light, but Amara caught the flicker of fear in her eyes. That night, Amara locked her bedroom door, pulled out a small recorder from her drawer, and whispered to herself, if they want a show, I'll give them one. Tomorrow the stage is mine. But as she set the recorder down, her phone buzzed again. This time the message read, they're planning more than betrayal. If you want to survive tomorrow, don't go through with the wedding. Amara is no longer just betrayed. She's being warned her life may be in danger. Amara didn't sleep. She sat awake in her chair, staring at her phone, until dawn painted the sky pale gray. The second message replayed in her mind like a curse. If you want to survive tomorrow, Don't go through with the wedding. Survive, not trust, not love, survive. The word cut deeper than betrayal. By morning, her mother bustled in, fussing over breakfast, and Mara forced a smile. But her hands shook as she held her cup of tea. Every clink of the spoon, every laugh from her relatives downstairs felt like noise, masking a secret storm. Later, when she entered the dressing room to try on her gown, she froze. Pinned to the mirror was a folded slip of paper that hadn't been there the day before. Her heart pounded as she opened it. The handwriting was sharp, deliberate. He doesn't just want the company. He wants your silence. Run before vows become your funeral. Amora staggered back, the gown slipping from her arms. Her reflection stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. That evening, at the rehearsal dinner, she watched Darius toast to a lifetime of love. His smile was perfect, his charm flawless, but Amara now saw the monster beneath. Tessa sat beside him, her laughter soft, her hand brushing his under the table, when they thought no one was looking. Amara clenched her jaw. Rage burned through her veins. But fear kept her still. Whoever was warning her clearly knew more. If she exposed them too soon, she could end up destroyed. When she returned to her room, she found her recorder, missing from her drawer. Someone had been inside. Amara realizes not only is she betrayed, but she's being watched. Her plan to secretly record Darius and Tessa has already been discovered. The rehearsal dinner was alive with chatter and laughter. But to Amara, every voice was muffled under the pounding in her head. She forced herself to sit at the table beside Darius, smiling when expected, nodding politely, while her eyes scanned every detail, Tessa's smug glances, Darius's hand tightening over hers like a chain, the way certain guests whispered too quickly to hide their words. Halfway through the dinner, Darius stood to make a toast. To my bride, Amara, the light of my life. Tomorrow we begin forever. The room erupted in applause. Glasses clinked. Wine flowed, and Amara raised her own glass reluctantly. The rim touched her lips, and then she saw it. Tessa, watching her too closely. Her eyes flicked just once to Darius's glass, and then back to Amara's. Amara froze. Slowly she lowered her drink. Heart thundering, could it be? Could the warning have been about this? She slipped away to the restroom, carrying her untouched glass. Alone, she poured a drop into the sink, and stared in horror as the liquid hissed faintly against the porcelain. Her hands shook. The warning was true. They weren't just planning to betray her. They wanted her dead. A knock rattled the door. Tessa's voice followed. Sweet and honeyed. Amara, you've been gone a while. Are you okay? Amara quickly shoved the glass behind the counter. Her breath shallow. I'm fine. She called back, but her voice cracked, betraying her fear. There was a pause, then Tessa's tone hardened. Don't ruin tomorrow, Amara. You've worked too hard for this wedding. Footsteps retreated. Silence fell. Amara pressed her palms against the counter, gasping for breath. The betrayal wasn't just personal now, it was survival. She knew then, tomorrow would not be her wedding. Tomorrow would be war. Amara has discovered the plot isn't just betrayal, it's murder. And the wedding is the perfect cover. Amara didn't sleep that night. She sat at her desk, the poisoned glass hidden in her drawer, her mind racing with one thought. They want me gone. She could run, but running meant surrender. Running meant letting Darius and Tessa win. Walking away with her father's company. Her dignity, her life's peace. No, she wouldn't run. By dawn, she had a plan. She picked up her phone and made a single call to a private investigator she had once hired months ago when Darius's stories hadn't added up. Back then, she dismissed her suspicions, telling herself love was about trust. But the man had kept the file. And this time, she wanted everything. Are you sure you want this open again? His gravelly voice asked. Yes, she whispered. I need everything by tonight. At breakfast, Darius slid into the chair beside her. All smiles, couldn't sleep, nerves. I know, don't worry darling, tomorrow will be perfect. Amara forced a laugh, pretending to sip from her cup. Perfect, she echoed, but inside. She counted the hours until she had proof. By evening, an envelope slipped under her door. She tore it open with shaking fingers. Inside were photos, bank statements, and recordings. Darius wasn't just a liar, he was drowning in debt. He had staged the entire romance to access her inheritance. But the true shock wasn't him, it was Tessa. Photos showed them together, not just recently but for years. Hotel lobbies, secret dinners, embraces too close to be innocent. Her best friend, her sister in everything but blood. Tears blurred Amara's vision, but anger steadied her hand as she set the evidence on the desk. Tomorrow, she would walk into the wedding hall not as a bride, but as an executioner. Then her phone buzzed again with the unknown number. This time, the message was only 4 words. Trust no one else. Amara now has proof of Darius and Tessa's affair and fraud. But the mysterious messenger's final warning suggests the circle of betrayal may be wider than she thinks. The morning of her wedding dawned bright and golden, but to Amara, it felt like stepping into a battlefield. Every smile from a guest looked like mockery, every word of congratulations, like a knife twisted deeper. She walked through the house in silence, her gown trailing like a shroud. Her mother fussed with her veil, oblivious to the storm raging inside her daughter. Tessa entered, radiant in her bridesmaid dress, carrying a bouquet. "Ready, bestie?" she asked with a grin so wide it nearly cracked her face. Amara's stomach turned. Behind that grin lay betrayal, poison, murder. "Yes," Amara said evenly, her voice steady despite the venom rising in her chest. "Ready." At the venue, the hall glittered with chandeliers, white roses, and hundreds of expectant faces. Darius stood at the altar, handsome and confident, the perfect groom in everyone's eyes. His smile widened when he saw her, but all Amara could see was the man who had whispered about owning her like property. The ceremony began, the music swelled, guests leaned forward, and Amara walked slowly down the aisle. Every step felt heavier than the last. Her heart beat not with love but with rage. When she reached Darius, his hand closed around hers. Firm and possessive. "You look breathtaking," he whispered, his eyes glinting with triumph. Amara forced a smile. "So do you." The officiant cleared his throat. "If anyone here knows any reason why this couple should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now." The doors at the back of the hall slammed open. Gasps erupted. A man in a dark suit strode forward, holding a thick file. His voice thundered. "I have a reason." The room fell into stunned silence. Amara's breath caught. It was the investigator. "The wedding has just been interrupted by the private investigator, with evidence that could blow everything wide open in front of the guests." Gasps rippled through the hall as the man in the dark suit marched to the front, ignoring the whispers, the murmurs, the shocked faces of the guests. His eyes never left Darius. "Who are you?" Darius barked, his grip tightening on Amara's hand. The man dropped the file on the altar with a heavy thud. Pages spilled out, bank statements, photographs, recordings. "I'm the man hired to find out who you really are. And this," he gestured at the documents, "is everything you've been hiding." Amara's chest tightened. The moment she'd been waiting for was here. The officiant looked helpless, glancing between the couple and the stunned guests. Perhaps we should pause." But the investigator's voice rose above the chaos. "Darius Cole is drowning in debt. He staged this marriage to gain access to the Akoi fortune. And he didn't do it alone." The guests gasped louder, heads turned. Darius's face darkened, but before he could speak, the investigator pulled out a photograph and held it up high. His accomplice was the maid of honor. Every eye in the room shifted to Tessa. Amara turned too, her blood boiling. Tessa's face drained of color. She shook her head furiously. "No, it's not true. Amara, you can't believe this." But the investigator threw more photos across the floor. Tessa and Darius in hotel lobbies. Secret dinners. Embraces that betrayed everything friendship was meant to be. The crowd erupted. Whispers turned to shouts. Guests covering their mouths in shock. Amara's hands trembled, but her voice was clear when she finally spoke. "How long, Tessa?" Tessa's lips quivered. She looked at Amara, then at Darius, then back at Amara. "It's not what you think. I did it for us. For you." "Liar," Amara's voice cracked like a whip, silencing the room. "You betrayed me, both of you." The altar was no longer sacred. It was a battlefield, and Amara wasn't leaving without blood. The betrayal is now public. Tessa is exposed, and the wedding has erupted into chaos. But Amara hasn't yet played her final card. The hall was chaos, guests standing, shouting, some recording on their phones. The pristine wedding had turned into a public trial. Darius snatched the photos from the floor, his jaw tight. "This is slander. Lies meant to ruin me. Amara, don't listen. This man was paid to destroy our love." He turned to the crowd, his voice thundering with fake indignation. "Of course I met Tessa. She was helping me plan surprises for Amara. These are fabricated." Tessa latched onto his words like a drowning woman. Yes, that's true. We wanted to make things perfect for her, to ease her stress. Amara, you know me, I'd never betray you." Amara's heart pounded. Their performance was flawless, two liars, perfectly in sync. She could see the doubt flicker across some guests' faces. Darius stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Shut this down now, Amara. Smile. Forgive and we'll walk out together like nothing happened. Do it, or you'll regret it." His grip bruised her wrist, but Amara didn't flinch. Instead, She reached into the envelope the investigator had left and pulled out a small device. She pressed play. The speakers crackled, and then Darius's voice filled the hall. She has no idea. After tomorrow, everything will be ours. Tessa's laugh followed. And she actually thinks you love her. Gasps thundered through the room. Phones shot into the air, recording every second. Darius's face went pale, Tessa's knees buckled. The lies were finished. The truth now belonged to everyone. But just as the investigator moved to hand the file to the authorities waiting outside, Tessa lunged forward, yanking a wine glass from the table. Her voice shook with rage. If I can't have this life, then no one will. She raised the glass high toward Amara. With their betrayal exposed, Tessa makes a desperate, dangerous move that could turn the hall into a crime scene. The room erupted in screams as Tessa hurled the wine glass straight at Amara. Instinct took over. Amara ducked, the glass smashing into the wall behind her, shards raining across the altar. Guests scattered, chairs overturned, some rushing forward to restrain Tessa, others frozen in shock. Stop her, someone shouted. But Tessa was wild now, her carefully polished mask shattered. You think you're better than me. Amara, you had everything: family, wealth, the perfect life. Darius should have been mine from the start. You were just in the way. Darius grabbed her arm, hissing. Shut up, but it was too late. Every word echoed through the microphones, broadcast to the entire hall. Amara stood tall, her chest heaving. For the first time, she didn't see Tessa as her best friend. She saw her for what she truly was, an enemy who had lived in her shadow, waiting for a chance to strike. The police surged forward as the investigator shouted, "Arrest them both." Darius tried one last desperate move, lunging for Amara as if to silence her, but the investigator shoved him back. He stumbled, rage boiling over. You think this is over? You'll regret humiliating me like this, Amara. Amara's eyes locked on his. Her voice was cold, steel wrapped in fire. The only thing I regret is ever loving you. The officers clamped handcuffs on him, dragging him toward the doors. Tessa fought like a wildcat, screaming Amara's name, until she was pulled away too. Silence followed. The chandeliers still glimmered. The flowers still perfumed the air. But the wedding was gone, replaced by the wreckage of truth. Amara looked at the stunned guests, her veil slipping from her hair, her gown torn by glass. There will be no vows today, she said, her voice trembling but strong. Only justice. Darius and Tessa have been exposed and arrested. But the damage is deep. Amara's world is shattered, and whispers ripple about what comes next for her. The hall emptied slowly, guests filing out in stunned silence, some whispering, others still clutching their phones with recordings of the chaos. What was supposed to be the grandest wedding of the year had turned into a scandal that would flood the headlines by morning. Amara stood alone at the altar, her gown heavy with the weight of betrayal. Her mother rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her, trembling. My daughter, oh my poor daughter. How could they do this to you? Amara's voice was quiet but sharp. Because I trusted the wrong people. That ends today. Her father, who had been silent all evening, finally spoke. You showed strength I didn't know you had. They thought you were a pawn. Amara, tonight you proved you are the queen. Tears burned her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She looked at the investigator, who handed her the final piece of evidence, a legal document her father hadn't known existed. Darius had forged papers to transfer company ownership on the wedding day. If she hadn't stopped it, she would have signed her entire legacy away. Amara's jaw tightened. They wanted my fortune, my life, my dignity. Instead, they lost theirs. As she walked out of the hall, cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions. Amara, what's next for you? Will you press charges? Do you feel broken? She paused at the steps, the night air cool against her face. She looked directly into the cameras, her voice steady. Broken, no. Betrayed, yes, but let this be a lesson. Betrayal doesn't destroy me, it remakes me. The crowd gasped at her boldness, but as she turned to leave, her phone buzzed once more. A final message from the unknown number. It isn't over, they weren't the only ones. Amara may have destroyed Darius and Tessa, but the mysterious messenger warns that another hidden enemy still lurks in the shadows. The ballroom was empty now, only scraps of flowers and broken glass left behind. Amara sat in her room, still in her gown, staring at the message glowing on her phone. It isn't over, they weren't the only ones. Her blood ran cold. Who else? Who could still be hiding in plain sight? A soft knock came at the door. Her father stepped in, closing it gently behind him. You've been through hell tonight, but I need to tell you something before the world twists it. Amara looked up, her throat tight. What is it? He sighed heavily, sitting across from her. Darius didn't come up with the plan alone. He had help inside our family. Her heart thudded painfully. No, tell me you're not saying. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were signed documents. The same forged papers, but with an additional signature at the bottom. One she knew as well as her own. Her cousin Ajora, the one who had encouraged her relationship with Darius from the start. The one who insisted Tessa be her maid of honor. The one who always smiled too brightly, hugged too tightly. Amara's hands shook. She was in on it too. Yes, her father said gravely. And she's gone. She vanished right after the arrests. She'll resurface when she thinks the dust has settled. Amara stared at the folder, the rage inside her burning hotter than before. First Darius, then Tessa, and now a Jorah family. She rose slowly, stripping off the veil. Her voice cold steel. Then it isn't over. Not until every last betrayer is exposed. She walked to the mirror, her reflection a stranger now stronger. Darker unbroken, for the first time. She didn't see a bride, she saw a survivor, a warrior. Her lips curled into a bitter smile. The vows may be broken, but I will never be. And with that, she stepped into the night, ready for the next battle, because betrayal had not ended at the altar. It had only begun. Thank you for watching. Till the end, please don't forget to share with your family and friends, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories.